Welcome back to another episode of Door to Door. I'm Virginia Stanley from HarperCollins Publishers. It's a very scary day here because we're going to talk about scary books. Chris has got a scary background. Lainey's got a scary background. Oh, Lainey, I love your earrings.
Thank you. I'm very proud of my skeleton hand earrings.
I have nothing. But I do have a really scary, well, I don't know. It's quite unsettling. Let's put it that way. We have Sam Miller, his fourth book with HarperCollins called The Blade Between is coming out in December, and we have so much to talk about with this book because there's a lot of personal stuff going on in this book that I think launched the story, and there's so much really cool artwork. Your website is so cool. We just got to jump right in. So
stop
it some more. Seriously, it's really cool that you're here. So thanks so much, Sam.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So let's just dive right in. Let's talk about the book. So again, we always ask authors not to give away too much, but just enough to make people want to read it. So this book has gotten wonderful reviews. Starred book list review, just amazing quotes. Paul Tremblay. We'll go through all that, but I just want you to start.
So this is before I give you the plot, if that's okay, I'll give you a little bit of the backstory, because I spent 15 years working as a community organizer in New York City, and I worked a lot on housing policy issues, and I worked a lot on fighting gentrification and fighting displacement. And one thing that I realized maybe about 5 years ago was that my own hometown of Hudson, New York, upstate, was undergoing really rapid gentrification and displacement. And I had really strong feelings about it. And I hadn't really processed them or related them to the work that I was doing around gentrification in New York City. And so I realized that there was a story there that I needed to tell. And that I had to really dig into what that was. And so this is the story of a gay photographer from Hudson, New York, who had moved to New York City and made a name for himself as a photographer, who finds himself returning home. He wakes up on a train going home for the first time in years, and he's not sure why, but he's been doing a lot of substances lately and waking up in places he doesn't remember going to, so he's rolling with it. And ends up at home and gets caught up with some of his friends who are fighting against the really rapid transformation of his town, and gets involved in trying to stop them. But he might be manipulated by monsters or spirits or some other supernatural force that is trying to exploit his anger and hatred and turn it into violence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, can you talk a little bit about I was really taken by the story about your father and his butcher shop and what happens in the story, but also if you wanted to draw some parallels and talk a little bit about the real seeds of the story there.
Yeah, I mean, so to be clear, Ronan is a hot mess, and I would like to think that I am like a cool mess. Like my messiness has calmed down a lot. People always ask me, because I also write young adult, like, how do you write teenagers? Aren't they hard to get into their mind? I'm like, no, I'm still a teenager. I'm extremely immature. The only reason I don't make as many bad decisions as I did when I was 18 is because I'm tired all the time. So yes, this Ronan is a much messier version of me. There are many biographical similarities between myself and Ronan, but he's not me. Hopefully he's the more entertaining version of me, the messier one. But yes, my father owned a butcher shop, as his father did, in Hudson. It's sort of like the story of Hudson is in my family story, as all place stories play out in family stories. And so when Hudson was a thriving metropolis, we had a bustling business, and our butcher shop was really popular. And as Hudson declined, like so many towns did around the country in the sort of like 70s, 80s, 90s, post-industrial Rust Belt era, so did our fortunes, and so did the business was really struggling. It was struggling by the early 90s. When Walmart came to town, they put us out of business. My father sold that building in 1996 to settle a tax debt for $50,000. That building recently sold for $1.5 million. So the transformation that's happening in Hudson is, I'm not going to say it's not benefiting the people who live there and have lived there for generations, because many people, that's not the case, right? Many people who are benefiting from the Renaissance are local and do have deep roots there. So it's a complicated matter. But yes, this is very much my wish fulfillment, revenge fantasy of punishing the people who might be benefiting from the sort of inequities and gentrification that play out in so many places, including New York City and my hometown of Hudson.
All right. Yeah. I thought the beginning of the book, especially when you talk about the history of Hudson way back in the whaling days, and then with each generation how it changes and changes again, and it's just, this is a story that just keeps being told over and over again. And now it's Warren Street. I've been up there; it's absolutely beautiful, but it's not my hometown, so I'm not pissed off, But it's all antique stores, and so I get it. I just think that it's I think it's it's a story, a theme that's all too sadly familiar, and I think this really resonates with a lot of people. So
I hope so. And I think
Yeah.
if I may, I feel like I think that while Ronan and many of the characters start from a place of real anger and resentment, and at the time I was writing this, my father's butcher shop was an antique shop. So it's not anymore. It's now going to be the gym of the Maker Hotel. But while I started from a place of real anger, what I tried to get to was a place of, and writing this book was really cathartic for me, and really did help me get to a place of understanding that the solution to gentrification and transformation is not to roll back the clock. That's not possible. You can't snap your fingers and go back. And often what you're going back to was unsatisfactory. Ronan, like myself, left Hudson because it was not possible in 1997 to be an out gay person there. It was possible, but it'd be making a real compromise with the type of freedom and life you could live. What I tried to get to a place for Ronan and for many of the characters, and hopefully for readers, is a place of no, it is possible to coexist. The old and the new, the rich and the poor, if folks can recognize that their destinies are tied together, and that the well-being of one is the well-being of the other, then it is possible to forge a future that is not horror.
So interesting. Wow. Yeah.
Spoiler alert, that's the goal of the book, is to get to a place of coexistence, and whether or not we get there is not for me to say.
Yeah. Well, it seems to be an ever expanding topic all the time. But it's very interesting. And let's talk about Chris, Laney. I don't want to monopolize. You guys want to hop in? I want to get to the artwork. I want to get to your website. I want to get to your school and library visits. There's a ton to talk about here. So I want to stay focused on the book. I also don't want to miss those aspects of so much. Your website, Sam J. Miller, so good. So good. You can just spend a ton of time there and get lost. And it's really, you are so talented with writing and writing the words and drawing the images, and really something. So Chris, Laney, you guys hop into. We don't, we just want to mine your brain on this scary day.
It's here to be mined.
Well, I do want to take the opportunity to fanboy a little bit, Sam. I did read your previous work as well, and what I found so fascinating about that, I read an interview with you, talking about using sci-fi, dystopian, utopian to kind of tackle the issue, in that case, of climate change. And I loved it. And I'm just curious, what drew you specifically to horror? What was that a conscious decision? Are you a lifelong reader of horror? What does that genre mean to you?
So this is gonna sound fake, but it's not. I am really bad at genre. I don't get genre. I have had many times I've written something that I thought was one genre, people be like, no, this other genre. So often, so when I'm telling a story, I tend to be all over the place, and often in the editing process, when I have a really amazing editor, as I have had on all 4 of my books, to really help me settle into what makes a genre amazing. But I tend to be all over the place, both as a reader and a writer. I tend to occupy generally the speculative fiction world, which is sort of like a catch-all for science fiction and fantasy and horror. But I don't only read in those genres, and I'm often reading non-genre fiction so that I can steal those plots and add dragons or monsters. But yeah, I mean, I am a lifelong horror reader. I've always been obsessed with horror. My mom is an amazing writer and a horror fan who tried not very hard to shield me from horror movies. So like, she'd be like, no, you can't see that. And I'd be like, but can I see it? She'd be like, okay, fine, see it. And then I'd have nightmares. But also like my parents were pretty, while they did sort of like limit my movie watching, they never limited my book reading. So they always said that I could read whatever book I wanted. And if I fuck myself up, that was on me. Sorry, I'll try not to curse. I don't know if I'm not supposed to curse. We didn't talk about that in prep. But
You can curse your brains out.
Okay, good.
Cool.
Good. So yeah, I was reading like Stephen King when I was 11 and 12. And so it is a genre I love and have always loved. And, it's interesting that we can talk about it like this, because I feel like for years and years, the buzz I got was that you don't use the H word in publishing, that lots of people, like, there had been like periodic gluts of horror where like, everyone reading horror and we're publishing thousands of books. And then it's like, oh, no one's doing that anymore because people OD'd on it. So it does seem cool to be in a place where people are using the H word again. Yeah, I didn't really realize that's what this was until pretty far along into it.
And actually, you got a nice shout out from a librarian friend of ours, Becky Spratford, who was on this panel, and it started it was like under a bigger umbrella of like representation and diversity in publishing, and how to recommend those books to their patrons who maybe don't know what to ask for, etc. And she was saying that this book specifically is so great because although it is about Ronan's experience growing up and maybe not being accepted for who he was, that's not the horror part. Like the horror is not him having to be someone else or come out to people. And so I love that point that she made, and she was so very nice. So we have that link too for everybody to go and check that out. But what was it?
Becky.
Yeah, wonderful. So what was it like writing that narrative of him coming to terms with like people in his past, but also holding them kind of at arm's length because he's so desperate to get to New York back again. But
yeah, it's interesting. I have, and I think a lot of people probably do, especially if they grew up in a place that they left. You have ambivalent feelings. A lot of the people that you grew up with, you had really formative experiences with, you had intense emotional attachments with, you loved. They weren't like you. You might not have had a ton in common with them. And there's often this thing I find where, the people you grew up with and the people you were friends with in high school, then you go to college and then you move to New York City or wherever, and you get introduced to a wider world where there are people who are gay and who get what you're talking about and who you don't have to hide around. And there are people who like weird Soviet silent film like you do, and so you don't have to talk about the Grateful Dead if you don't want, you know what I mean? Like, so you feel strongly about them even if you've since become a different person or are able to access parts of yourself that you couldn't with them. So that doesn't mean you don't love them, and that doesn't mean that if you see them again you won't feel things with them again. So I think that speaks to the sort of ambivalence that people have about the place they call home. And I have that about New York City too, as much as I love it. There's so many things that I hate about it. And, I hate that it's a city where, that is constantly eating its own young. Like every great record store, every great restaurant, they're always trying to evict it to put something in its place where they can make more money. So, tapping into those feelings of ambivalence have been productive for me as a writer, and I hopefully in this book I have been able to do that in a way that other people can connect with, because there's lots to be ambivalent about. Like I love that now when I go home to Hudson there's like tons of great restaurants and there's an art house cinema where I can see old movies and all this stuff. But I hate that you can't have that without poor people being pushed out, right? I don't accept that you can't have that. I know that's the way it tends to happen, but I don't accept that you can't have both, right? It's like in New York City, a lot of times people will welcome quote unquote gentrification because it's like, oh, well, we didn't have good supermarkets here before, or it wasn't safe before. But I don't accept that you can't have safety and food security and all these other things without kicking people out. It's that's not the way it tends to happen that way, because the decisions are being made by people with a lot of money and people who have an interest in profit over people. But it's not the way it has to be.
And I think just because we have to bring it up, the year 2020 and the H word, horror, are you still digesting this year? I mean, are you eager to get back to using horror to tackle the experiences you've had of this year in particular? I guess that's a long-winded way of asking about your next book, and I don't want to give anything away, but as an author who uses genre to tackle so many topics, how are you doing with?
Well, it's really,
this?
it's a bummer on a number of levels, including, like the human horror of it, but also the creative horror of it, of like, how can I top this? Like everything I come up with, it's like, well, reality has I don't want to make the joke I'm about to make. Reality has trumped you, and come up with something better, or by better I mean far worse. So I have been reading a lot of horror. It is the thing that speaks to my soul these days as I look out the window and like fear for everything. But it is like, I've been bouncing around on a bunch of projects and have been really thinking about what my next science fiction novel is going to be, and something that sort of takes place in a future that is grim as we anticipate the future will be with climate change, but also hopeful and has cool stuff in it, like cool tech that can help us change the course of environmental collapse. So trying to do that, but also feeling like my heart's not in it, and I feel like really upset and cynical and whatever all the time. So yeah, reacting to the current moment has not been productive for me. So I'm trying to sort of like make a sharp left. So I'm actually thinking I'm working on a graphic novel pitch right now, and so yeah, I'm all over the place. I don't know what I'm going to do next, but I'm trying really hard to not drown in each morning's flood of headlines.
Can you just give a snapshot for everybody of your body of work? I mean, you hit the ground running with your first book. So you did 2 books with Harper Kids and then 2 with Echo. Can you just give everybody a little snapshot of those books, of and the awards that you won, the Nebula Award, and the huge praise that you received from these books? I just think it speaks volumes how you, and then of course this graphic novel is cool news too. I don't know if that's, I'm very interested to find out about that later, but I just think that there's so much going on here, and you offer so much to so many different readerships.
Thank you. It's funny, like my first novel, my debut, The Art of Starving, which was published by Harper Teen in 2017, was also my 7th novel. I wrote 6 books before it that no one wanted. And each one was like this slow, miserable process of watching your baby be abandoned by everyone. I, for years, was publishing short stories, and I love short stories. But my debut novel came out in 2017 and is a young adult novel about a bullied small town gay boy with an eating disorder, all of which I was, who believes that starving himself gives him superpowers, which mine did not. And so that won the Nebula Award for Best Young Adult Novel. And I followed in 2018 with Blackfish City, which is a cli-fi, climate change science fiction novel set in a pretty far future, after rising sea levels have transformed the globe, about a floating city in the Arctic, where a woman arrives in town one day with a polar bear and an orca on a mission of bloody revenge. And that came out in 2018, and then in 2019, my second young adult novel came out from Harper Teen, which was called Destroy All Monsters, which is more of a fantasy novel than anything else of mine. It's about this teenage girl named Ash who her best friend Solomon has a intense and worsening mental illness that stems in part from a trauma that they both sustained when they were young that they can't remember. And so she's trying to help him remember and figure out what's going on as a way to sort of save him at the same time as we are inhabiting Solomon's world. And he lives in a fantasy city full of dinosaurs and monsters. And he's trying to save his best friend Ash, who is the refugee princess who is being hounded by anti-magic popular resistance in the city. So that came out in 2019. And so now The Blade Between, that's 4 novels in 4 years. That's a sprint pace I'm not sure I can sustain. But here we are.
It's so crazy. And I just, again, there's a lot for everybody here. 2 quick quotes that I'd like to read, and then if we could take a look at your artwork real quick, that'd be great. So Booklist gave this a starred review. It says Miller's sprawling novel encapsulates the complex web of feelings brought on by witnessing the destruction of a town that made adolescence hell for a gay or trans queen. Raw and volatile, highly recommended for anyone looking for a queer-themed, sea salt-laced, dark fantasy. Love that. I mean, you're really, this book just touches a lot of emotional chords, and I really, we're very excited about this. You're really reaching a wide readership, and with this one, I think you've really blown it out of the water. Paul Tremblay, who's he, just the scariest writer, says a successful influencer photographer returns to the gentrifying hometown that nearly broke him and all hell breaks loose. The Blade Between is as addictive and brutal as it is smart and challenging. Miller unflinchingly confronts the sins of our past and present. The horrors here are rooted in there being no easy answers, despite our individual and collective souls being ultimately at stake. Plus whales.
I love Paul, even if
Uh-oh.
I hate Paul because he keeps picking the subjects I hate the most, like a home invasion novel, and writing them so well that I have to love them, even if I also hate them. Like what are you going to top your home invasion novel with, Paul? Oh, a zombie novel? So yeah, now he has a zombie novel I have to read and love and hate and be upset by.
Well, I don't know.
Speaking of whales, Kim McGee said you have an affinity for whales. They pop up. So what? She wants to know more about the whales.
Well, so part of it is the fact that I did somehow grow up in a whaling town, even though it's 114 miles up the Hudson River, very far from the ocean. Whaling was the first boom industry that built Hudson up into a great city. It actually at one point lost by 1 vote to become the capital of New York State, which would have been horrible because look at Albany.
Yeah.
But no shade on Albany. So much shade on Albany. Yeah, so we still have, like, all of our street signs have whales on them. There are monuments about whaling. It used to be that there was like a giant baleen whale jawbone outside of like this big mansion on Warren Street. It's in the blood and the DNA of the town. So I was sort of surrounded by them, and I do sort of think of them as a sort of emblem of where I came from. But also, whales are amazing. They're smart. They're capable of revenge, which it's not like, if you have the capacity like that, that's like the true determinant of evil as humans understand. That's the true determinant of intelligence as humans understand intelligence, which is the capacity for evil. Like, that's how monkeys can't be intelligent, they can't be evil, but whales can mess up your stuff. So yeah, I love them. They're terrifying. I got a orca tattoo for Blackfish City. And my first tattoo, which I got for The Art of Starving, which is probably hard to make out because it's very abstract, is Moby Dick. So I love them.
So great. And yeah, we're going to share some of that artwork now, right? I have that. Look at that. That's so cool.
Yeah, so these are the 4 tattoos I've gotten for the 4 novels that I've sold. Yeah, it's always going to be an animal. There's always going to be an animal at the heart of what I write because I love animals. Yeah, these are all the work of Bradley Silver, who is an amazing artist. He's at Inked NYC now. He's the only artist I go to. I really recommend his work for anybody. Bradley Silver, Inked. He makes really incredible stuff, as you can hopefully see.
Just beautiful. Just beautiful.
You know, there obviously there are a lot of whales in the blade between, as you can see on the cover, and Paul's blurb. But I already have 2 whale tattoos, and I figured I should not have a 3rd one, and it just gets a little overwhelming. So there is a mammoth in the book, and so that's who I got on my left arm to celebrate this book.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's pretty wild. I like the descriptions of the whales in the book. Like you say that, I think you say that their eyes are as big as the human's head, and what is as large as a cow? Their liver? Did you say the liver is as large as a cow?
I did the research to confirm that whatever I was saying there was accurate.
Yeah,
so
it's so
if
cool.
It's the liver, yeah.
It's crazy.
I actually recently, like a week ago, went to the New Bedford Whaling Museum in Massachusetts, which is amazing, which I highly recommend. And they have like a sperm whale skeleton that you can stand next to, and it's very, very moving and very humbling because they really are just like incredible monsters. And monsters are real, and we love monsters.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of humbling too. It's kind of like the sea itself, you know. It just puts everything in perspective.
Yep.
So, well, man, this half hour went fast. Congratulations on this. We're just so happy for you, and we're so thrilled that you could join us today. Chris, Laney, any thoughts, closing comments, or Sam, if there's anything that? Oh wait, we have to talk about your school and library visits because it's a big part of what you do. Again, your website is so wonderful, samjmiller.com.
Yep.
Okay, but let's talk about it for a second before we say goodbye to you, because when we were talking yesterday, you were saying, you know, I'm really, you know, I'm available to do library visits. And so everybody that's watching, there's a form right there on Sam's website that you can go to and fill it out. You can also get in touch with us and we'll connect you. But Sam, is there anything you want to say about that?
Nothing, just that I love them. Samjmiller.com is my website. There's a link on the left. There's a contact form, or just samjmiller.com/contact. I'm always down to do them. I love them. I can watch my language if necessary. I do know how to act when I need to. Yeah, please reach out to me. I love talking to readers. I love talking to librarians. I appreciate librarians. I love them. I couldn't have written this book without librarians, so I'm really eager to connect with readers. And you know, in this weird moment, which who knows how long, we'll be in a position where we can't have book readings and author events. It's great that there's a way to do it without putting anyone at danger of sitting in a crowded room together. So yes, reach out to me for all your weird book chat needs.
Love it. Thank you. And again, Chris, Laney, anything to say goodbye before we?
Just thank you, because yeah, again, it was, I think your previous adult novel came out right when I started at HarperCollins, and it was a great introduction to you, of course, and to what kind of book the Echo publishes. I just really was quite taken by it, and this is a great follow-up. I love horror, so it's been a true pleasure and honor to meet you, Sam.
Thank you. I appreciate all of y'all.
Well, we ditto. And so listen, we'll be in touch, and people out there, reach out to Sam, reach out to us. This book touches on a lot of ticks a lot of boxes. It doesn't feel like nothing about it feels forced. And I'm going to be the first to say, I'm not a horror reader, and this book sucked me right in. It was like I don't know. It just because it's a story that everybody can relate to, and then within that comes the scary stuff. Ooh. So thank you.
Everyone can relate to scary these days, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's just wonderful.
Thank
so
you.
yeah,
Thank you so much.
yes, and if you don't believe me, believe Booklist and Paul Tremblay and lots of other people who are raving about it. So there's a Blade Between. It goes on sale in December 1st. So plenty of time to read it. It's available as an e-galley, and read it, love it, and tell us what you think. So Sam, you take good care. Be well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you all. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
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 It's appropriate that just as we said goodbye to Sam, there was just like a siren.
That was me. Well, not me. It's not my siren, but
I hope
Cops
not.
after you.
yeah.
Oh, I was like, I hope he's okay. He hadn't have to go, but the cop. That's funny.
Ooh, it's my scary voice. So
I'm turning
now,
off my video very quickly for a surprise. Maybe it'll work. Maybe. It won't,
okay.
but,
So
yeah.
excited right now, Lainey. I'm so scared. I love those earrings.
Pretty obsessed with them. Oh, I have hold on. You can't
What do
see
you
it, so I
have?
have to put it on my shirt, but I have my little ghost.
Oh my God, that's adorable. What do I have?
Mm.
I have a shirt. I have a t-shirt now that I don't have to be. No, we don't have an author on. Let's see. Can you see this? Can you see
My
this?
ghost? Yeah, I'm just here for the booze. I love that. Well, I have my little ghost. She usually goes on your head, but you can't see it with my background.
No, it's so perfect. It's very
Actually, it's not even a background. I'm in the woods. I got a connection.
Crazy Lainey.
While we have a second, we're going to
Yes.
talk about some spooky reads, but people can download what we're talking about if they want to
Hey-o.
follow along.
Yes.
They
That's
just want to know.
awesome.
what's
Are people
happening.
watching, Lainey?
Yes, we do. We have people. Elizabeth Olish, love your shirt.
Thank you.
I'm
I'm just here for the booze. I was gonna get like some cranberry juice. Then I thought I'd get some red wine.
This is good. I'm shocked about how bad this is going to look.
Okay. Wait, Lainey, let's take the title thing down so we can see Chris being crazy.
I don't know if I should tell you what I'm attempting to accomplish,
Well, I
or
don't
just
know.
like let it be. All right, I'm just gonna let it be.
Okay.
Let's see.
This is a lot of anticipation.
This is me trying to be the invisible man without, and it's so much worse than I ever could have expected.
Oh, it's so perfect.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think that's the best costume I've seen in a long time.
It's made with care.
That is so great.
Yes, but I am
Also-
actually here. So
Yeah, oh, thank goodness. I thought
Yeah.
it was gone.
I'm right here.
Oh, there
It's
he
Chris.
is. It's Chris. All right, can you guys take a screenshot of this because it's hilarious? Or should I take it with my phone? Meanwhile, people are
gotcha.
like, what
you
is
go.
happening? Chris, that's hilarious. Can
These
you
are
see it?
practical effects too. This isn't CGI or something. This is.
It's very
not.
realistic. If it was.
I thought you were disappearing.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. That's even better than last year's costume where you put your hand in a jar.
No. That was the hand
That
model.
photo was that one with the creepy thing above us. It makes me laugh
that was
every
cool.
time.
Yeah. I don't, God knows where all that stuff is. Chris, that's hilarious. I want you to leave that on for every door-to-door going.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I'll keep it
I
on
like
for
when
the
you
duration
talk,
of this
it blows
episode.
out. And Chris, if you should sneeze, you could just blow your nose into your face.
Yeah, it's perfect. It really is.
Yeah, it's like a new mask. You just wear it outside and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
You
It's
are
all good.
crazy. You are crazy.
Look at the- Can you see it?
What is it? Oh my God.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
no,
the-
that was super crazy.
That was a fun day.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see. Now let's see. Wait a minute. So I'm gonna try and do mine. Let's see.
Oh,
How do I-
share.
Yeah. Let's
I
see.
put the title list in the comments for everybody. So
Okay. I'm trying to. Oh, are you taking it down?
No, I'm just trying to improve upon it, make it a little more.
can you see out of your one eye?
I can see out of a quarter eye about.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay.
Nothing to worry about.
All right.
All right.
I don't think that I can do my thing. Wait a minute. It's not. Wait a minute. Oh, here we go. Wait. Here we go. So. All right. Here we go. Okay. Here's my scary thing. Moo. Can you see it?
Yeah.
How does it look? Wait, here's the surprise.
Oh.
Oh.
Unrecognizable.
What?
Chris, can you even see it?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay.
Oh, I can
I'm worried
see.
about your vision.
Yeah,
and
no.
visibility.
I'm all here.
Hilarious.
It's.
I would be. Oh, I don't know. Be
I have
interested
got
run
to
into
get
you.
to the endocrinologist. Now listen, we should start talking about some books.
Yeah. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Okay.
We ready for the first book?
Sure. I'm leaving it on.
I love it. Okay, so I don't know if anyone is aware, you should be, and I'm sure you are, but we had Neil Gaiman take over our Instagram, which is not a sentence I thought I would ever say, but it was amazing. It was the most engagement we've ever had. Everyone loved it so much. People from all over the world watching this. So fun. He took over and showed his bookshelves. He showed his writing space. I think he gave some things maybe you didn't know about him, some posts. His grandfather owned a grocery shop. Didn't know that. And then he also took us outside to this like babbling brook that was very soothing, and just said the most kind things to librarians, which we all know that he is a big library fan, and even on his website it's like third sentence on his bio, but how much he loves libraries. So please go watch this takeover. It was so kind of him to do, and he took, very simple, like do what you want, and he just had this whole plan and he thought it out so well, and we're very thankful that he did all of this for us, but it was just catered to librarians. It was beautiful.
It was amazing. It really was. And what a gift. I mean, so many, as Lainey said, so many people were saying like, what? I had no idea. How did you get that? How did you make that happen? But we made it happen. And so, yeah, go check it out.
Yeah. And the Neil Gaiman Reader is what he was talking about, which just came out last week. 52 pieces of selected fiction and award-winning work from him. So all like not clips, sections of his books are in there. And you can just, if you don't know Neil Gaiman, you can read some, and this is a great starter pack. But if you do know Neil Gaiman, there's going to be new things for you too. So it's a wonderful anthology. So check that out as well.
You know what, guys? These are just things that we want to make sure that you know about. Who's you guys want to talk about this?
Yeah,
Chris, you
happy
want to talk about
to.
the first
Yeah.
one, and I'll take the second.
Yeah, absolutely. Leave the World Behind by Rumaan Alam, National Book Award finalist, LLF team favorite. Just an amazing person and a huge breakout book for him. New York Times bestseller, in fact. And yeah, I think many of you probably know about this book, but if you don't and you're looking to be scared, this will do the trick. It's an oddly timely story of a family from New York who is going to get away in Long Island. They have an Airbnb, two kind of upper middle class people and their two children. They're a white family. They take this Airbnb and then they receive a knock at their door one night, and it's the homeowners who say that there's been a blackout in New York. They were scared, communication is down, so they came back home. The homeowners are Black, they're an older Black couple. So right off the bat, there's this racial tension, but Rumaan, in typical Rumaan fashion, really expands and adds so many layers of depth and complexity to these two families, trying to survive this unknown disaster that, again, it's such a fascinating character study, but it's also just propulsive, chilling, says a lot about our times. I think it's a perfect book. We all love it. I'm sure you all have read it, but if you haven't, now's the time. 'Tis the season. Check it out.
Yeah, and I just quickly wanted to remind everybody, so Lovecraft Country, great Halloween read. And Matt Ruff, we love him. We had him on the podcast for 88 Names. Chris, you did a great interview with him for that. And it does such a cool job of showing like the very real terrors in the South and throughout racial tensions in America, past and then into the future. Such a cool book, but it is now an HBO series from J.J. Abrams, and we are very excited to remind everybody that Library Journal's having an event. They've been doing a series where they talk about Lovecraft Country for every episode, and they've been doing that online, and they were going to have a big culmination at the end to talk about who the real monsters are in the book. I think it's a really interesting topic, and now Matt Ruff is going to be speaking to everyone, so we're very excited he's a part of that panel. Please check that out, and we have the link to that. It's on the 30th at 7 p.m., and you can register online.
That is a major cool thing.
I know, I can't. I laugh every time I look over there.
I had to take my facial hair off. All right.
Okay, rolling on.
Rolling on.
All right, next, Mother May I. I know everybody's so excited for this. You know Jocelyn Jackson. You love Jocelyn Jackson. I will never forget when she came to TLA for her previous book. So she's written 10. This is her 9th one, was her first foray into domestic suspense and thrillers. So this is the second in that genre for her. But the first one was Never Have I Ever, which is so good. Go read it. Very fun. Great for book clubs, but also thriller. And she came to TLA and she played Never Have I Ever with the librarians in the room. And I will never forget that day. It was so funny. But for Mother May I, this is her next book. And Entertainment Weekly calls her the master of domestic suspense. And I think it's so true. Our editor and I were speaking about this, and she was telling me that she was writing the galley letter, and it says best, most ambitious novel yet for Jocelyn. And I think that's such a big thing to say, and even bigger when she totally delivers. And this is about a mom who has kind of had a darker childhood growing up with like a lot of ambitions told to her that the world's not there for her. No one's got her back. She's got to make her own way. Don't trust anyone. She kind of puts that away, grows up. Now she's married into this kind of glitzy family. She has 3 kids, a newborn baby, and she wakes up one day and there's a witch staring at her through her bedroom window. And as I say, okay, maybe she wasn't a witch, but she looked like a witch. And that's how it starts. And so she thinks it's an illusion, goes to school, does her mom duties. Her husband's out of town for an event, and she sees the witch again in the parking lot. And then all of a sudden her baby, who's in a baby carrier next to her, is gone. Doesn't know where the baby went. How terrifying. As a mother, not as a mother, but if I was a mother, I couldn't even imagine. And so she goes home. She's told, do not call anyone, don't do anything. You have to do this one thing and you'll have your baby back. And she's like, oh, no big deal. Like, it's, morally suspect, but we'll get it over with and move on. And slowly things start to unravel and she becomes entangled in a lot bigger of a deal than she thought. And what will she do to get this baby back? And so Jocelyn is so good at blending thriller and page turning action, but also the darker topics, like privilege and opportunity or trauma and what it is, motherhood, because there are different generations in this book as well. So, although it is fast, fun reading, good for spooky season, it will be good for book clubs as well. So that's Mother May I by Jocelyn Jackson. Comes out in next April.
What's the next one? Girl on the Walls?
It is.
Hey, ga 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 ga. Oh, arr. I'll tell you, bosses, I will. I've never been so happy since finding this thing. Okay, Girl on the Walls by A.J. Ganussi.
Ganussi, yes.
Thank you very much, Christopher. So this is about, is this at work or should I take it off? I'll leave it on. Okay.
Leave it on.
Okay. So this is about a young girl, Elise, who is in a house and she knows every inch of the house because it used to be her house. She knows all the floorboards that creak. She knows where to hide. She knows where to hide in the walls. And she lived in this house before with her parents before they were taken away from her in a car crash. So now that's her story. And then there's Eddie, who's this teenager who is trying to forget about this girl that he sometimes sees out of the corner of his eye. He's got an older brother who senses this girl too, and they're faced with this question about how to get rid of someone that may or may not be there. This is about more than just, is there a spirit? Is there a person lurking in the house? This is about grief and how to deal with carrying on through grief and forging very unconventional friendships. This book, okay, there's comparisons to, if you love the child protagonists in books like The Lovely Bones, which I did, Room, which I did, Tell the Wolves I'm Home, so good. Here's a quote. I just have to read this to you because I am going to take this off because I look rather silly. Arr. Okay. This is a great quote. I have to read it to you. It's by Clyde Edgerton. This is what he says about this book. Ever been deep underwater, holding your breath, wondering if you will make it to the surface? Okay. Remember that famous scene in the movie Wait Until Dark? Remember that feeling while reading The Telltale Heart? Remember the evil character in the movie No Country for Old Men? Remember the most terrifying nightmare you've ever had? Okay, so now, here's your book, Girl in the Walls by Adam Ganussi. It's really scary and literary to boot, going way down deep and way up high. Ganussi's first novel says that he is the real thing out of the gate. May the race be long with many more novels, but he will be hard-pressed to outdo Girl in the Walls. That's Clyde Edgerton. Hello. So, run, don't walk.
Following this little girl, she traverses through the house is so strange and unnerving, but very cool at the same time. I love the perspective, how she manages all of that. It's a little creepy, but in a very fine, entertaining way.
I don't really know how much I can trust anything somebody says has got toilet paper wrapped on their face. I do agree with you. All right, next. I'm sorry. I have wanted to talk about this book for forever, and it has just never seemed like the right time until now. Woo! I'm keeping this one on. So this is Taxidermy Gone Wrong. I know some people may say, I don't think it's very funny. Listen, it kind of is. This is a new take on the macabre and the funny. And this is everything. This is crazy. From musical mice and basketball playing Bengals to gun toting rodents and lawn mowing moles. It's a weird collection of curiosities that will amuse and astonish. I think this is funny. Bringing together scenes nature never intended. Its full color volume showcases a wide range of bizarre creations on display and available for sale around the world. It's funny, you guys. And we are talking about funny, scary books. And I just think this book, it doesn't really fall into any of the categories that we ever talk about. So fine. I mean, look at that. I mean, no animal was harmed in this because they were already gone. Okay, let's move on. Look at the skunk though in the little canoe. What do you think, Invisible Man?
I think Christmas is around the corner, and I know what you're looking for.
That it's a knockout with the squirrel.
Oh yeah, it's a knockout. Look at that. That's crazy. I know. All right.
Oh.
Okay, onward we go. There are people. I'm not afraid to even look at the comments.
Casey Davis said that they have a great Instagram site, so everybody said they like it.
Good.
There's no negative so far.
All right. Please love me. I'm just a little pizza girl.
This is your Christmas, finding that you can do all of these.
It is.
I love it.
Okay.
So Hairpin Bridge by Taylor Adams. I don't know if you read No Exit, but what are you doing? Just go do it right now. Drop everything you're doing after this video. Stay on now, but then go read No Exit. It was so good. Probably my favorite thriller, one of my favorite thrillers last year. And so this is the next book from Taylor Adams called Hairpin Bridge. Comes out in June. And he's so creative and talented and young, and just we're lucky to have him on our list. So this thriller is, 3 months ago, Lena Nguyen's estranged twin sister, Cambry, drove to a remote bridge 60 miles outside of this town in Montana, and she jumped 200 feet to her death. And that's the official story. That's what Lena has been told. They kind of wrap it up. There was somebody on the scene, a highway patrolman, and he discovered her sister's body. That's all that's all there is to say. It's remote, no one's there. But she's not buying it, so she is determined to figure out what happened. And so she drives out there and meets up with this patrolman that allegedly discovered this sister's body. And she meets him, and it kind of starts interviewing, trying to see, and the story doesn't add up. And so you go from there and you kind of get their sides of the story. But it's something about cold. I don't know. Every time I read his, I'm just like, I'm like in a chilly place, and it just chills you to the bone. And there is a little bit of gore. If you're not into that, I feel like I would want to know that. But maybe that says a lot about me, but I'm here for it. I'm all here for it. I need more of it. And he goes from suspense to horror to surprise. And Joe Hill said No Exit is a damn good time. So if Joe Hill's on board for Taylor Adams, we are too. And like I said, I cannot wait for you to dive into this one, because No Exit just knocked my socks off. So.
And a cool jacket.
Yeah.
I have so many. Oh, the upstairs house. Ooh. So this is a really cool book by Julia Fine, and it's about it's about this woman who's just given birth, and she's pretty much on her own with this baby because her husband is always traveling for work. So she's really exhausted physically, emotionally, the whole bit. And she's also feeling awful about herself because she hasn't finished her thesis, her dissertation, which is a thesis on mid-century children's literature. So there's the setting. And then she starts to hear somebody upstairs. And it turns out it's the ghost of Margaret Wise Brown, Goodnight Moon, among others. And no one else will acknowledge that this ghost is actually there. It seems like only this woman, Megan, can see her. And Margaret's got her own unfinished business with her former lover, the socialite and actress Michael Strange. So they're both determined to draw Megan into the fray as Michael joins the haunting. And so Megan finds herself caught in the wake of this supernatural power struggle until she can find a way to quiet these spirits, as well as but she and her newborn daughter are now in terrible danger. So um, that's the setting for this. She is also the author of Julia Fine is also the author of What Should Be Wild, which was shortlisted for the Bram Stoker First Novel Award. We're really excited about this one. It's so cool. I mean, we talked about this book already once before, and people were just loving it. I mean, if you love Kelly Link or Shirley Jackson, Melissa Broder, this is it. It's just surreal haunting, exploring womanhood, motherhood, and what it means to inhabit a female body in a modern world. Great raves already. So check it out. I think it's on Edelweiss. It is, so you can download it and read it. Next.
All right, Surrender of the Dead by John Burley. So excited for a new John Burley novel. I read his The Quiet Child, which came out in 2017. He also is an award-winning author of The Absence of Mercy. John's interesting in that he is an emergency medicine physician. He's a doctor, and for some reason that jumped out to me, and just the way he approaches characters and trauma and how they navigate some dangerous circumstances. In this case, this is a story of a young woman who, it's funny that we were talking to Sam about, returning home. This is a similar thing where Erin, she left her childhood hometown and just never planned on returning back to it. There's just a lot of trauma there. But her father is now in dire straits health-wise. And so she has to return home to a place that's been plagued by the kind of the looming trauma of a rash of disappearances in this town. And when she arrives, it just so happens that a police investigation uncovers bodies on her father's land. So now there's this growing kind of media public outrage. Everyone assumes that her father is guilty, and she has to take it upon herself to prove his innocence. As in The Quiet Child, John just does this amazing job of writing communities and the intricacies involved, especially when it comes to crime. Who's evil, who is not, who's a suspect, who's a hero. It's just brilliant. I think he's such a talented author. And speaking of talented authors, Lou Berney, we all know and love Lou Berney, November Road. He says, John Burley has an eye for detail, a feel for story, and a deep sympathy for his characters. And I think the deep sympathy, that's an important point. Just like great psychological thriller, but with deeply sympathetic characters. So this is coming in January. It's available on Edelweiss and NetGalley. Give it a read. Can't wait to hear what you all think.
Every time I look at you talking about a book, I start laughing. Okay, keep going.
The Night of Demons and Saints by Mina Van Praag. So if you read The Sisters Grimm, that was the first book in this series. This is a sequel. And Library Journal said that the first one was character-driven, a lush novel, and it's a story determined to exalt the powers of the feminine and sisterhood. And so if you were a fan of that one, this is just a contemporary fantasy that is so cool, and it's perfect for this talk because it's on All Hallows Eve meets All Saints Day. So very dark and sort of romantic, and I can say it's YA adjacent especially if you read the first one. So that if that is interesting to you, it's good for all ages. And this one, the sisters of Sisters Grimm, they have battled their demon father in the first book, and in the second book they are now they're separating, they're going their different ways after this battle, and now it's 3 years later, and as their 21st birthday is coming, they have this dark fate that's always followed them, and so now it's going to bring them together again, and their lives are at stake, but they have to come together to defeat this next thing in their life. And they confront that, but in order to do that, they really have to go through their personal trauma and make amends with this past and come together. And so on the night of their birthday, this big battle ensues, and another tragedy happens like the first one. And so it's just a wonderful blend of myth and literary spin that is really big right now. And this one, Mina, is always so great. And so I don't know what more perfect book than All Hallows Eve to talk about it on a Halloween episode.
Ooh. What's next?
Captive.
Oh yeah.
Love this. So this is definitely for fans of Bearskin by James McLaughlin, which I loved that book. And She Rides Shotgun by Jordan Harper, another book I loved. Both Echo titles, in fact, who's the imprint responsible for this fine novel. This is kind of part noir, part speculative fiction. It takes place in this near future secessionist state. And you have this woman who is kind of the leader of her household. She has this distant, violent past that she will not talk about, but she's living with her husband on a farm with her 2 children, just enjoying being kind of separated from these urban centers that don't really align with the life that she wants. But then a dangerous convict wanders onto her land, and this woman, Brooke, has to use some of her more deadly skills to apprehend this man. And then ultimately, because they're so isolated, she has to take this man, Stephen Crawley, to the nearest police and drop him off. And she has to bring her family with her. So it's an interesting kind of road novel where you're dealing with the inner family dynamics. You're dealing with Brooke, whose secret is somewhat out, but more is revealed about her and how she was so deadly and dangerous and how she's able to apprehend this man. And then you have a great, terrifying villain in Stephen Crawley. It's all so good. We had her at Library Journal Fall Day of Dialogue. Really fascinating to hear her speak. Just great insights, and I do think that kind of rural versus urban dichotomy, how those play off each other, is very interesting, and its role in this book. Really fantastic novel. We're happy to have on our list. It's coming in January as well. And yeah, go download an eGalley. Do it, please.
Yeah, do it. Go get one, then go get a hamburger. Hey.
Okay, Solitude of Wolverines. More fantastic nature thriller writing with this one. So I'm going to come back to James McLaughlin because I just think Bearskin was such a beautiful, fantastic, terrifying read. And this is getting comped to that as well. You have this badass heroine she's a wildlife biologist who works to save endangered species on this remote reserve. And then she plants like cameras and stuff throughout this preserve to monitor, in this case, wolverines, and sees a man seemingly injured on the brink of death. She calls the authorities. No one knows anything about this. They don't seem to believe her to a suspicious degree. And she finds she stumbled upon something with more far-reaching consequences. So yeah, I mean, the hero of this story, Alex Carter, this is going to be a series, and you don't do a series unless you have an amazing character that you want to return to. And that's what you have with Alex Carter. She's just so smart and skilled. And it's just a great setting, like just such an enveloping setting for this book. So highly recommend it. It also has pages of quotes like James Rollin, a true stunner of a thriller debut. Nevada Bar, what a tree. Alice Henderson has delivered a treasure of a novel. There are so many quotes for this book, and it's on sale actually today. So I buried the lead there. So this is, happy book birthday to A Solitude of Wolverines, on sale today.
Hey.
Congrats, Alice. Big deal.
Yeah, very cool. And then we put together some books that are a little bit scary, but not really scary. So, so if you're a scaredy cat, these are for you.
More of a mystery or a thriller. Yeah, they're not gonna chill your bones as much, maybe.
Right. Are people still watching? Should we keep going?
A few, yeah. I think they're still here.
All right. One sentence on each. Go.
All right. Pretty Little Wife, about a husband and wife. The husband dies under mysterious circumstances, but is he actually dead?
Lola on Fire, loved this one. Young man has to go on the run with his sister after he's kind of put into a situation with this big crime boss, but he realizes maybe he's running to someone from his past that the crime boss is making him try to find, who's in hiding, the so-called Lola. Very fun.
The Wind,
yeah. Sorry,
The
Brooke.
Winds Are Not by S.J. Bennett. Queen Elizabeth is a detective. Yes, it's true. She has got this fully developed character. She's got her Nigerian-born private assistant. The two of them together are solving the death of a Russian pianist at Windsor Castle. Less a cozy, more a multicultural story. It's fresh and funny. If you love The Crown, you're going to love this book.
Just saw the new season of The Crown trailer. So good.
Can't wait.
People Like Her. It is about an Insta-mom. She has all of these fans, followed by millions, watched by one, and maybe everything's not what it seems, and somebody's looking at her a little too closely. And then we just want to say, don't forget about these.
Don't you forget about these. Paul Tremblay. Look at those two. So that was two early detective novels that have been out of print, and now they're back. They're funny. It's a narcoleptic detective. The Little Sleep was the first one. That was his debut. And so if you love Paul Tremblay, check these out because that's super fun.
Yeah. Plain Bad Heroines. We've talked about it until the cows come home. I have my copy. I'm so excited. It's so beautiful. You can't see it.
Is that a finished copy?
It is. I ordered
What?
myself one. I know. That was the real evil, making you jealous. It's beautiful. And then the chess. Oh, well, I don't know if we've talked about it forever, but sapphic romance, historical, meta. It has so many layers to it. Just do yourself a favor and pick it up. It's so beautiful. And Chestnut Man by Soren Sveistrup. This one is for, I said I like the gore and I like the dark, and this is definitely it. It's a large tome, and it's takes you on a wild ride, but you flip through it so quickly. Set in Copenhagen, and murders that happened in the past are merging with murders that are happening in the present. How do they come together? A man is leaving his victims without a body part everywhere he goes. They all have different body parts missing, hand, foot, and what does that all mean? Very fun.
It means he's hopping around and having a heck of a time getting the hell in a cab.
I do want to call out the sequel to The Rise and Fall of Dodo, which was by Nicole Galland and Neil Stevenson. Yes, that Neil Stevenson. And this is the direct sequel, Master of Rebels. So this is picking up, I think, almost exactly where The Rise and Fall of Dodo left off. That's such a fantastic mix of like time hopping. There's witches. There's changing the past to fix the future, but it's so smart, and just like the system that Nicole and Neil wrote to like establish how this all works was so brilliant. And Nicole continues the story. Really, really cool. So definitely have that on your radar. Have it on your radar. It's late in the day, everyone. Have it on your radar. It is available as an eGalley now. Do check it out.
Help for the Haunted. I love John Searles. This hardcover came out in, I think, 2013. And it made the very first library reads list. And I am telling you, I read this book in the middle of the night, and I'm not easily spooked. And I was so freaked out reading this book. And at one point I heard a noise. It was about 3:00 in the morning. And I heard a noise, and I looked, and the cat looked, and then the cat looked at me, and I'm like, you heard that too? No joking. So it's about these Sylvie Mason, this young girl whose parents help haunted souls find peace. And so they get a strange phone call one night, and they leave the house and are later murdered in an old church in a horrifying act of violence. This thing was off the charts, scary good. And so, I mean, here it is all these years later, and it's still very much in print and just as scary. And I hope you love it, because it is really harrowing and really unnerving. And he's a great writer, John Searles. So that's Help for the Haunted. Did we get them all in?
Yeah, well, just one more slide.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I mean,
Chris's,
we just,
yeah.
I'm so proud. I was so proud to discover that we published these books because I think they were just some of the most influential books on my life. They're infamous. I think they gave nightmares to generations of children. These are with the original illustrations. So Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, More Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and Scary Stories 3, More Tales to Chill Your Bones. I think these are the best gifts you can give to anyone, but also particularly horror readers. There's so much sentimental value, and the illustrations are complete nightmare fuel
Looks like
in
me
the
in the
best way.
morning.
Oh,
I think that's all the time we have.
indeed.
I can't stop fooling around with this thing. Also, it's like, oh, that's what it's like to have eyebrows. Okay. Listen, you know what? This has been such a silly little day, but how great is our author? Wasn't he awesome?
It was.
Yeah,
So cool.
fantastic.
That book, you slip into it, you're there. You're like down a water slide. You want to know everything that's happening in that town.
It's true. It's totally true.
Yeah. Just quickly, we have Spike Carlson taking over our Instagram. Just want to remind everyone, such a cool book. He was also on our Facebook Live, so you can go and hear more from Spike personally. But fascinating book. You'll learn so much about the city around you, and just, I don't know, it fascinates me. So can't wait for that.
Yeah, he's everywhere now. Anything else?
I think that's it.
Chris, you've just stepped it up. I don't even know where we're going to be next Halloween, but man, make sure you safely tuck that costume away. Lainey, did you see Lainey's earrings, Chris?
Yeah, those are fantastic. Yeah.
So do you think I should just keep walking this way, or
It seems like
down
best
this
route.
Is that?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just gonna keep going.
Yeah, just roll back.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody's watching, but I don't know. This was fun. And thank you all for checking out our spooky reads. And have a safe and a happy Halloween. And we will be back. What's next Tuesday? Do we have? Oh my God, I have to go get the
next Tuesday is.
Here we go.
I'm dramatic pausing.
Because we've forgotten.
Because
it's huge.
It is, and no.
Next Tuesday?
We're not doing anything.
We're not doing it. Yeah.
Oh, next Tuesday is the voting. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but on Thursday, I think we're still finalizing our lineup.
Yes.
But can we announce
following Tuesday?
Following Tuesday, we have Anthony Horowitz.
So. Anthony Horowitz. The following Tuesday, November 10th, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, so next Tuesday we are not going to have anything because it's a big day, and we know that people are trying to squeeze in time to vote, and so we respect your time, and we just salute you all, and so we're not gonna have an episode next Tuesday. Who knows? Maybe we'll put something silly up or a rerun. But no, we just wanted to mark the day and wish you all a happy voting day. Be careful, and thanks for watching. So we'll see you again soon. Keep your eyes open because we've more good stuff coming your way. But Anthony Horowitz on the 10th, Moonflower Murders. Cannot wait. So exciting. That's his on sale day too, I think, right? Yeah, that's gonna be good. Very cool. All right, you guys. Thanks so much. Chris, don't move. Just get somebody to help you.
Happy spooky Halloween.
Don't go out in the rain. Bye.
Goodbye. Run.